Hey everyone, it's me again. I'm here with another video. Today's video will be, what if DreamWorks made a Batman movie? Sometime after Batman Begins, DreamWorks would decide to make a Batman movie. Not because Batman Begins failed or anything like that. I don't know, honestly. I really don't know how they would have gotten their hands on Batman, but somehow they would have. The first movie would have been Batman, released in 2008. Yes, it's replacing Kung Fu Panda. The prologue of the film would recap Batman's earlier years. We would not see Batman's origin story until the next movie. I think Ben Affleck or Ben McKenzie could have played Batman. Ben Affleck could have still played him, but I could also see Ben McKenzie. But Ben Affleck does make some sense because he did star in a DreamWorks movie before. That was Joseph King of Dreams, where he was the voice of Joseph. I even consider it to be an underrated DreamWorks film. And my favorite song would have to be You Know Better Than I. It would go down as one of my favorites and an underrated DreamWorks film. By this point, Batman would have had numerous sidekicks. Those would have been Nightwing, his first Robin, Batgirl, his first no, Oracle, his first Batgirl, who would have became who was introduced at the same time as Nightwing. My videos are unscripted. Forgive me. Jason Todd, who was the second Robin, now known as Red Hood, Tim Drake, who was his current Robin, and Stephanie Brown, who is his current Batgirl. Dick Grayson would be played by someone like Dylan O'Brien or Freddie Highmore. Likely the latter. I mean, the former. I think the former fits better. Oracle, maybe someone like Sarah Michelle Gellar or Lily Collins, preferably the latter. As for Jason Todd, maybe Brenton Thwaites or the actor who played Cyclops in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Tim Drake, Logan Lerman. As for Stephanie Brown, Emma Roberts, who would have been the perfect choice. Alfred and Lucius Fox would have also been side characters. I think Alfred could have still been played with Jeremy Irons, whereas with Lucius Fox, I could see Dennis Haysbert as Lucius, or Michael Clark Duncan, either way. And Vicky Vale would have been Batman's love interest for some time now. As for Vicky Vale, I think Jennifer Garner could have played her. Now, who would be the villain of this film? I'm going to say Joker and Bane. As for Joker, I would say Willem Dafoe or maybe someone like Michael Brandon. Preferably the latter, since I already had Dafoe as Joker in my What If Sony Made a Batman movie video. So to make things different, Michael Brandon would play Joker. As for Bane, I would say either Tom Hardy or Michael Clark Duncan. But James Gordon would also appear in this film, and he would be still play J.K. Simmons. Now, Joker would have been in prison for a few years, and Bruce is currently training Tim and Stephanie to be like his newest sidekicks. Now, because of Joker's involvement, the prologue would hint that versions of the Killing Joke and the Death in the Family storylines happen. But we'll get back to those kind of soon. At some point in the movie, Bane would beat up a lot of the officers and break Joker out, and then they would cause a riot. Nightwing, Red Hood, and Batgirl try to fight Joker, but they get beaten by Bane. And Joker is also given the time to kidnap Vicky Vale. Bruce would find out about this, and apparently he tries to save Vicky, but she is killed by Joker during the climax. And so Batman fights Bane because Joker was too busy playing his murder of Vicky. Stephanie and Tim try to help, but Stephanie gets her back broken, which gives Batman some PTSD, suggesting that a version of the Nightfall storyline happened. Apparently, this makes Tim just beat up Bane and almost kills him, but Batman stops Tim from making this decision. And then this would lead to the final battle. Apparently, Batman would come face to face with Joker, and then, before Batman could kill Joker, Batman decides this is not what Vicky would have wanted, and so spares Joker, and so Joker is arrested. And in the end, there would be a scene where Batman tells Tim and Stephanie that they have more to learn, thus kind of setting up a sequel. The film would be a big success, and in 2011 would be the release of Batman 2, which would have initially been called Batman League of Assassins. As the original subtitle suggests, Ra's al Ghul, who I think could have been played by Ken Watanabe or Hiroyuki Sanada, would have played him. As for a secondary villain, this would be Deathstroke, who I think could have been played by Joe Manganiello still, and would be the secondary antagonist. Joker would also appear as a side villain. And apparently, in between events, Ra's al Ghul has been planning his attack on Gotham City. And of course, Joker is broken free from prison again. And so, Tim and Stephanie have experienced war, but then they hear the news that Joker is free, thanks to the help of the League of Assassins. They take down some of the members, but then Batman sees that Joker has the same gun that killed his parents. After they lose the fight, Batman and Alfred then have a talk about, that fateful night where, you know, Bruce, his parents were killed. As for who could have played Bruce's parents, I think Jeffrey D. Morgan, the actress who played, Batman's mother in Batman v Superman, could have still played them. And of course, Joe Chill would make a cameo. And there would also be a flashback scene where Batman finds him. And it's heavily implied that that the Sionis crime family had something to do with this, implying that Black Mask was responsible for the death of Batman's parents. Not Black Mask himself, but maybe his father. Apparently, Batman would decide to put that fear aside and would decide to gather up his sidekicks so they can go to the location of the League of Assassins. There also would have been a new character, that being Catwoman, who I think could have been played by Marina Bakarian, who I think is actually the perfect choice, because Anne Hathaway would have still been too busy with The Dark Knight Rises. And so this can lead to Batman trying to move on from Vicky's death because of Catwoman and their shared history, but it's hard. Apparently they get to the base of the League of Assassins, but however, Nightwing, Red Hood, Oracle, Stephanie, and Tim all get captured because of Deathstroke ambushing them along with some League of Assassins members. And Joker. Batman, of course, would have lost this fight. And of course, Calvin wouldn't be the only one to try and help Bruce rise up. It would also be Catgirl, who would have been Catwoman's sidekick and I think could have been played by someone like maybe Peyton List, I think. I'm not too sure, but I guess Peyton List could work. Only issue is that she would have been too busy with Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick roles at the time, but she could have been a good Catgirl. Or even Florence Pugh. I don't know. But in the end, this gives Bruce the courage to fight back against the League of Assassins, and so they make a rescue plan. Apparently, Ra's al Ghul has Batman's sidekicks captive, and Joker plans on killing all of them. And he'll make sure that Jason stays dead this time. But before Joker could do anything about that, he is distracted and then is stopped by Batman. And then Batman makes the rescue plan. And of course, there's a bomb inside the base, which causes it to blow up, and then this frees Batman's sidekicks, and so this leads to the final battle, where they take down the League of Assassins, but Deathstroke would escape. Joker would be presumed dead, but Ra's al Ghul and Batman have one final fight, and you can have the whole scars heal whole thing. And that could also give hints to Ra's al Ghul's backstory. And so the final fight ends with Ra's al Ghul dying. Batman wouldn't kill him, but he would die, likely because of the destroying base. Somewhere in Gotham, that would be. Batman and the rest of the sidekicks would then return to Alfred, revealing that they had stopped the League of Assassins. And then there's an after-credits scene with a celebration of Batman and his sidekicks being hailed as heroes. The TV would turn off, and then someone would say, Batman, he's going to face a challenge he can't deal all by himself. We won't see who the man is, but he does seem to know Batman. This would set up Batman 3. In between movie releases, there would be a show called Batman, the new animated series, something like that. Or even Batman Cape Crusader, I'm not sure. This would be a show taking place before the first Batman movie, with each season detailing how Batman came to be. Season 1 would detail Batman's earlier years and how he met Nightwing and Barbara Gordon. Season 2 deals with Jason Todd, while Season 3 would deal with Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown. Then moving on to Batman 3, which would be released in 2016. Apparently, Batman is looking for a successor. He then meets a kid named Terry McGinnis, played by Noah Jupe. Apparently, Bruce is unsure of Terry at first due to their similarities, but then he finds out, thanks to a phone call from Selena Kyle. She said Terry is their son, and that his real name is Terry Kyle Wayne. And Bruce is in surprise. In this movie, Tim Drake would become Red Robin, whereas Stephanie Brown would become, spoiler, maybe, but she does become spoiler likely. And of course, Terry would become Bruce's new Robin. He wouldn't become the new Batman quite yet. As for the villains, they would be Black Mask, who had been set up in Batman 2, who I think could have still been played by Ian McGregor or maybe someone like Joel Edgerton. Penguin, played by likely still Colin Farrell, maybe. Deathstroke returning as well as Bane. Julie Madison would also appear as an ex of Bruce, and she would be played by someone like Bryce Dallas Howard or Kirsten Dunst. But considering that Selena Kyle is Terry's mother, this does make Bruce concerned about abandoning, his son's real mother. But he decides to hang out with Julie, not as lovers, but still. He would then face off against Bane and Deathstroke, who were sent out by Penguin and Black Mask. Bane, Penguin, Black Mask, Deathstroke. Bruce would even tell the backstory of Black Mask and Penguin to Terry. Apparently, they hated Bruce because he lived better lives than he did. Black Mask was frequently abused by his father, and so Black Mask in the end made the decision to kill his parents, brother, sister-in-law. Yeah. As well as his aunt, uncle, and cousin, whereas Penguin was bullied for having a different appearance. And so, Terry, who would have been initially hesitant to be a hero like his father, would then become confident and be wanting to be a hero like his father. And then this leads to Batman, all 6 of his sidekicks to stop the villains. And Catwoman would even participate. And in the end, while Stephanie would have suffered a broken arm, or even a slash from Deathstroke's sword, the heroes would remain victorious in the end. And the ending would be a celebration. It could be like the end of Despicable Me 4, where everyone sings everybody wants to rule the world. I don't think so, but it was out there. Now, a lot of you may be asking me, what about Cluemaster? I'm forgetting about him. Yeah, he would be the opening villain in this film. And would have been one of the villains in the Batman Cape Crusader, along with Black Mask, Joker, Ra's al Ghul, Killer Moth, Firefly, Deathstroke, and Anarchy. For a long time, the franchise would take a break until 2024, which would see the release of Batman 4, which would be the movie with all the returning villains. Bruce is starting to feel like he needs to pass down the Batman mantle to Terry. But Terry feels like he's still not ready yet to become the next Batman. Now, the other Robins, aka Batman's previous sidekicks, don't really do much. Because Nightwing, he's too busy with the Teen Titans. Bat, Barbara, and Jason, they're probably dating or something like that. I don't know. But Tim and Stephanie, they got married in the prologue, and Stephanie is pregnant with Tim's child. So she can't. They can't do superhero work because they're about to become parents. And so Terry is struggling. But speaking of the prologue, Batman and Terry would fight Orca. At one point, Terry would meet someone named Cassandra Cain, who I could have seen being played by Karen Fukihara or someone like that. And she would turn out to be a former classmate of Terry, who used to be in the same school as him. He takes her to Bruce, and then Bruce finds out that he is the daughter of David Kane, one of his old villains, and Lady Shiva, who was another one of his old villains. Speaking of villains, the villains would be Scarecrow, played by Adam Driver, Clayface, played by David Harbour, and Harley Quinn, played by maybe someone like Mia Goth or Rosamund Pike, someone like that. Probably Mia Goth. I think she would be the perfect choice for Harley Quinn in the Reeves verse. But still. Now, if you ask me what about Catgirl, well, she becomes more of a side character in Batman 3 and doesn't appear in Batman 4 because, like, she's moved on from Catwoman and wants to be like her own thing. Even Catwoman is like trying to help Bruce with, trying to find a successor. Same thing with Alfred and James and Lucius Fox. James Gordon still would have appeared in later films. Now, Joker, Deathstroke, Bane, Ra's al Ghul, and Black Mask and Penguin will all return as hallucinations, because at one point, Batman, Terry, Cassandra, while going after Clayface, who would have been a former actor, and Harley Quinn, who would have put them in a trap, would face the hallucinations of all the past villains. So yeah, this is kind of like Batman Unchained, but Harley Quinn would be a Joker fangirl, not a offspring of the Joker. Ugh! I hate that storyline. That's incest. Apparently then, Batman, Terry, and Cassandra then find a way to conquer their fears after seeing, like, Batman would see, like, his parents dying. Cassandra would see how she was raised, likely not treated well, not raised well. And Terry would see, you know, likely how his stepfather, Warren McGinnis, was killed. And so they would conquer their fears and defeat the villains in the end, and they would be locked up in Arkham. And so Cassandra would have, of course, became the new Batgirl. And the end credits scene would show Terry presenting his new Batsuit and Cassandra meeting the previous sidekicks of Batman, where she meets Nightwing, and maybe a cameo from the Teen Titans if you want. Jason and Barbara, as well as Tim and Stephanie and their son, who Terry would decide to make him his Robin at some point. But not now, because he's just a baby. And Stephanie actually likes this idea because then their son can be like her and Tim, sidekicks of Batman, but not to Bruce Wayne, to Terry McGinnis. Now, Terry would have gotten the Batman Beyond suit at the end, since Bruce probably would have retired. I'm not too sure. But Terry would feel like he's now ready to become the next Batman. However, there would be talks and speculation of Batman 5. And of course, reports would say that Batman 5 would be in the works, with a possible storyline involving King, Kraken, and Orca. And there also would be a plan which would date back to 2010, which would have saw the Batman franchise expand to 6 movies, with the 6th film possibly adapting the Batman Hush storyline depending on how they would want to bring it all full circle. But who knows? Who knows? So that's What If DreamWorks made a Batman movie. It is probably longer than my Spider-Man video. You know what? DreamWorks made a Spider-Man movie, but alas. I plan on doing this with other heroes like Wonder Woman and possibly the Teen Titans and maybe the Suicide Squad. Anyways, bye.